In this video, I showcase my No Element Traveler account. After playing Genshin Impact for about 2 years, I have now completed Genshin Impact without ever obtaining an element. So what does this account entail? What is there for this account to offer? Well, let's get straight into it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking the video and drop a sub. It's a great way to show support to the channel, but otherwise. So we're going to start off with the character showcase because it's literally just NPC Ether, so Ether with no elements. So the funny thing here is if I go into the party, so as you can see, my character doesn't even show an element. It just shows a white prohibited sign. It's like as if I'm not even supposed to do this, but hey, we've done it now. So as you can see, NPC Ether level 90. He's on 68 and 85. Also, if you want to have a look, the weapon, he has the Prototype 1 core. You get this weapon by reaching AR 10 and grabbing it as an adventure rank reward. So I've been holding on to this sword ever since adventure rank 10, and yeah, we're still having it because there's just no better weapons for No Element Traveler. Artifacts wise, we have 2-piece Pale Flame and 2-piece Gladiator. I'm still working on 2-piece Bloodstained, which I'll explain how I'm getting these artifacts later on in the video. So as you can see, we have the Flower, Feather, Attack, Physical, and Crit Rate. So the Flower, Feather, and Timepiece are really good, but these two pieces are relatively horrible because it's so hard to grind for these pieces. It'll take literal months farming in the domains in order to get these pieces, so I'm still grinding till today. Constellation is 0 because No Element Traveler does not have a constellation, and Talent is level 6. If you try to go any higher, you can't because you need the boss materials, which is only unlocked by progressing through the story. Okay, so that's basically the showcase of the character, but now the question is, how was I able to beat the Electrohypostasis without ever obtaining an element?
A few moments later.
And there we go. Hopefully that answers your questions. So you can get Xiangling by completing floor 3 of the Abyss and Collei by completing floor 4 of the Abyss. Now as you can see at the top right corner, I don't actually have access to the events tab. So now the question is, how was I able to get these characters if I don't have access to the events tab? During the release of version 3.0 and 3.1, there is a pop-out which allows you to click into the events tab without actually having access to the events tab. So that pop-out that you just saw in the screen, that pop-out appears once in the entire version. So you really have to be really careful when this happens. But as long as you are careful enough and not make any major screw-ups, you can just simply click into the event and claim Xiangling that way. For Collei version 3.1, I'm not too sure what's the adventure rank requirement level, but it didn't have a quest requirement. So as long as you join during version 3.1, the pop-up will show, and all you needed to do is to click on it, and there you go. All of a sudden, I have Xiangling and Collei. Now that we've got the actual characters on the screen, we're just gonna go to the character showcase. So Ether, I've already gone through it. I'm not gonna do it again. For Xiangling, she's level 90, 57, 110, energy recharge 193. You can pause if you want to have a look. Crescent Pike, refinement rank 1. You do get a polearm billet from completing floor 3 of the Abyss, and I used the billet to create the Crescent Pike. The reason why it's the Crescent Pike is because in the Spiral Abyss, which I'll get to later on in the video, I do need Xiangling as a main DPS. Artifacts wise, we have 2-piece Emblem, 2-piece Shimmer. We have Flower, Feather, Energy Recharge, Pyro, and Crit Rate. Constellation 0 and Talent 666. Again, you can't go any higher because weekly boss materials, we don't have it. And finally, we have Collei 72 and 148. Running Slingshot Refinement rank 1. You are able to get a free Slingshot by talking to Wasco in Port Ormos. So if you just go down to Port Ormos, talk to the character, it will just give you a free Slingshot, which is really impressive considering of the Crit Rate substat. Hence why we have 72 and 148. Artifacts wise, we have 2-piece Noblies, 2-piece Emblem, we have Flower, Feather, Energy Recharge, Dendro, and Crit Damage. Constellation 0 and Talent 666. So that was basically the showcase of all of my characters. They are not the absolute best, but they are pretty well built and can survive in Teyvat. So again, let's just continue on. We are currently at AR55. The road level is down at level 7 because I don't really need it any higher. So there really isn't any reason to make it even harder on ourselves. Now let's just go through the inventory. So weapons wise, we have the Crescent Pike, Prototype 1 core, the Black Sword, and the Snow Tooth Star Silver with a few of the other 3 stars, which you can see right here. I've already explained how I was able to get these 2 weapons. The Black Sword, you can actually buy the Battle Pass weapon. So I bought it just to show you guys you can actually buy it. However, a little issue with buying the Battle Pass weapon is, I'll just quickly show right here. So if I try to ascend the weapon, as you can see, I'm having a huge trouble getting certain materials. So as you can see, the materials here is actually locked behind Cecila Garden, which requires Anemo to unlock, which I don't have Anemo because my Traveler doesn't have an element. Now with that being said, there is a way to get these materials, which is the Parametric Transformer. The Parametric Transformer is a quest that you're able to do once you hit somewhere in the AR30s. And if you're able to do that quest, you get a Parametric Transformer, which using the Parametric Transformer allows you to have a chance, a really small chance of getting this weapon Ascension material. So technically speaking, it is possible to get the Black Sword to level 90, but it is going to take an extremely long time. We are talking about years, like actual years, real life years, and an insane amount of good luck in order to get it. And as for the Stone 2 Star Silver, you get it by exploring Dragon's Spine. Okay, so that's basically it for the 4-star weapons. For the 3-star weapons, we had the Messenger and the Slingshot. Before version 3.0, I was looking to farm up the Messenger because the Messenger had the crit damage substat. But ever since Wasco was released in version 3.0, all you needed to do is to talk to Wasco, you get this nice crit rate 3-star bow, and yeah, that's basically what Collei is using. And as you can see, I did try to experiment with the White Tassel, but it never really worked out because this thing over here, which increases attack by 20%, is just way too good to pass up. So the Crescent Pike is just simply better in all aspects, at least in terms of a main DPS Xiangling build. Aside from that, there are a few some special novelty weapons, as you can see over here. This sword that you get from Panguan at Qingyun Peak. This sword over here, you get it from Cheng the Shop in Liyue. And this sword you get from talking to Harry in Mondstadt. But otherwise, everything else you see is just collected from opening chest in Teyvat. Artifacts wise, as you can see, I do have a lot of 5-star artifacts and plenty of 4 stars as well. The important part is I have access to 5-star artifacts. So as you can see in the map, I do have some of these artifact domains available. So this is the set which I will use to build main DPS Traveler and main DPS Xiangling. I do have access to a lot of these domains. So even the Dendro one, I have access to. The Inazuma one, I believe is this one over here, I have access to as well. So as you can see, it is possible to attempt these domains even though the Traveler doesn't have an element. However, it is relatively difficult to complete the domain, mainly due to the fact that I don't have a healer and I have to rely constantly on food in order to survive in these domains. But technically speaking, it is possible to get the 5-star artifacts. But practically speaking, it is really difficult to do it, and as such, I don't usually farm on these artifact domains. Now, the second way to get artifacts, so as you can see, if you go to the crafting bench here, no elements, but I do have access to the Strongbox. You unlock the Strongbox by reaching adventure rank 45. There's no crash requirements for it. You reach AR45, you just simply get this. And as you can see, you do have like the Noblest Obliged, Bloodstained Chivalry, even the Witch Flame domain you do have access to, the Lava Walker as well. So even if the Traveler never obtains an element, as long as you hit the adventure rank requirements, you do have some options to get 5-star artifacts. The hardest part is to just simply do the domains because you don't have anything to work with. You have to constantly rely on food, and it's just a pain in the ass to do. For the character development items, there really isn't much to say here, with the exception of the Hoarfrost Core and the Eleflame Seed. Both of these items I needed to farm quite a bit back when I didn't have access to Collei. I just farmed it because you really needed these fragments, which took a really long time to grind, but eventually I was able to get enough of everything to get my characters up to level 90. And as you can see, I have a lot of these books by just farming around the chest in the game. I have 2 Crown of Insights, which I'll explain how I got these later on in the video. And these Decabian Towers and these Tooth, you can get it by getting extremely lucky on the Parametric Transformer. So in the Parametric Transformer, you needed to sacrifice, I believe it's meat, elytro, and maybe chicken, I'm not too sure. I'll post the thing on screen and the link to the Parametric Transformer article in the description. Basically, you can increase the chances you get favorable drops by putting certain materials into the Parametric Transformer. You just have to get lucky. There's nothing else to it. If you don't get lucky, you're just gonna have to wait till next week. Now, as for the food, looks really normal at first glance, but I do have access to the Adapter's Temptation. Normally, you needed to use the glider to go up to the place where this recipe is stored, but I was able to utilize a bug, which is now patched, by the way. You can no longer do this, but I was able to utilize a bug to allow me to open the glider every time I teleport and use that bug to reach that place where you are normally not supposed to. But otherwise, everything else is pretty straightforward. forward. We have some healing foods. We have revival food. We have stamina food. We have a lot of these items over here. Even the Sumeru ones that I'm using, as you can see, the Sumeru items. And yeah, we have the Adeptus Temptation for the main food, the seafood and the Fisherman's Toast for defense, and some various potions which I've collected across my journey in Teyvat. Now, as for the materials, most of it has been relatively normal, with the exception of the Midlander billets. As of the making of this video, I am currently in version 3.1, so the only way to get these billets is to get it from the Tree of Dreams. And yes, I do actually have access to the Tree of Dreams. More on that later. As for the gadgets, I don't really have a lot of gadgets to work with because, well, you're no element traveler, you're not supposed to have gadgets to work with. We do have the 2 cameras that you get from completing their relevant road quest. The Memento lens you're able to get by going far enough into the Inazuma road quest, but the problem is you can't even use it because you're technically outside the road boundaries. You can't use gadgets outside the road boundaries. Same goes to the Kusawa. I was able to get far enough in the Aranyaka quest to get this item, but again, I can't use this item outside the road boundaries, so there's really no point. Same goes to the Lyre and the Ball. The Lyre, you get it from the Aranyaka quest. The Ball, you get it from the version 1.6 Golden Archipelago event. If you try to access the Mondstadt Souvenir Shop, it will not work. The shop is just closed indefinitely because you don't have an element. However, I do have access to the Liyue Souvenir Shop. There's no real use to it except for just, I guess, sing a few tunes, which the Lyre already does the same job. So this item is pretty much useless. But yeah, that's the gadgets that I do have for No Element Traveler. For the quest items, a lot of it is just really messy. As you can see, I've even tried exploring the Sumeru Desert, but I haven't gotten around to finishing it yet. So if you read over here, as you can see, I do have access to the Aranyaka book. I'm in the process of clearing this quest. As you can see, we do have a few of the rhythms unlocked. And yeah, there's this thing over here, which I'm currently unable to do. Well, technically I can do it, but the bug associated with getting this completed is so ridiculously difficult that I've just decided that I'm not gonna do it. But otherwise, here's the quest gadget for your own convenience. Pause if you want to have a look. So for the precious items, we have 21 fragile resin. I would have had a lot more if I didn't spend it all on doing Mora ley lines and artifacts domain. So these are 2 claymore recipes that you could obtain by completing their relevant exploration objectives. So this one is in the Dragon Spine and this one's in the Mikage Furnace in Inazuma. And as you can see, I've opened quite a lot of these remarkable chests in Inazuma and Sumeru. You do get the recipe, but I don't want to use them because if I use them, I can then only access them in the Serena Teapot. And as you guys may have noticed, I don't actually have access to the Serena Teapot because you need the story progression in order to have access to the Serena Teapot. For the fates, we have 8 Intertwined Fates, 49 Aquain Fates. I have no idea how I have these Aquain Fates. And then we have Geoculus, just 1 extra one, which I'll explain why later on in the video. I was able to get 50 Crimson Agates, but there's no reason to ever get any more because there's just no Dragon Spine tree. So we have 16 Dendro Sigils. I'll be able to get more eventually and get the Tree of Dreams level up a bit higher. So for the Electro Sigils, it's stuck at 884 because you need to do the relevant Archon quest in order to unlock the Sakura tree. So there's no way around it. Can't glitch into it. As for the Anemo Sigil and Geo Sigils, their souvenir shops are just locked behind Archon quest progression. Because if you don't have an element, there's no Archon quest progression. And if there's no Archon quest progression, the souvenir shop just stays locked. These spin crystals, I don't have a particular use for them because, well, I just don't have any particular use of them. And yeah, that basically sums up the precious items tab. And I guess there's just nothing here because I do not have access to the Serena Teapot. So yeah, that's basically it for the inventory. In terms of gameplay, there are 2 things that makes this account different than your typical account. Firstly, if I try to get an element, as you can see, I can't get an element. Now, the second thing over here is I don't actually have access to the glider. Now, if I jump off this place right here, and if I just spam shift, so as you can see over here, the glider doesn't open and the traveler just dies. This is a massive issue because if you jump off cliffs like so, you're just going to die. In terms of my Anemoculus and Geoculus exploration, I was able to get both statues up to level 10. So that is another way of saying I was able to collect every single Anemoculus and Geoculus in the game, with the exception of the Anemoculus that's locked behind Lisa's domain, because that is locked behind the Archon quest. In terms of Electroculus and Dendroculus, we are stuck at level 9 due to the rest of the Electroculus locked behind Surumi Island, and Dendroculus, we are currently currently at level 6 as of version 3.1. Hopefully when 3.2 is released, we'll be able to collect even more Dendroculus. In terms of exploration, within the exception of the really first statue of the 7, I was able to explore every single area within the exception of Old Vanarana. If you go there before the Araniyaka quest progression has been reached, the statue of the 7 just does not show up. But otherwise, as you can see, all of these areas have been explored, maybe not perfectly, but most of the islands, they are at 100% and 90% progression and such. Within the exception of, again, Surumi Island, since Surumi Island requires a specific bug to bypass the fog barrier, and I missed my chance, so I can no longer explore Surumi Island. For the people who are curious about the chest count, on start we have 50, 491, 17. Lirat we have 81, 1054, 44. In Azuma, the first 3 islands, we have 43, 19, 318. Sera Island and Watatsumi Island, I have 16, 161, 25. Tsurumi Island, I'm kinda stuck again due to the fog barrier. Pause if you want to have a look. For Sumeru Forest, we have 36, 44, and 440. And finally, we have the desert over here. This is perhaps the most complicated one due to the teleporters not showing up unless we have access to the road quest, which no element traveler does not. So unlike version 3.0, there is access to the Aranyaka quest. Version 3.1, you don't have the respective road quest to unlock the areas. So a lot of it is just locked behind the road quest, and this is what I have at the moment. Even though I have a lack of element on the main traveler and no glider, the fact that I have Xiangling and Collei as an archer, I was able to go through a good amount of the content, and that makes it not as bad. Yeah, makes it a lot easier to work with. Hopefully in the future, if we have access to additional characters, I'll be able to access more of the game's content. But until that day comes, what you saw was what I've got. Now, as of the Tree of Dreams, as you can see over here, I'm currently at level 21, which allowed access to various goods such as the Crown of Insights, the Midlander Billets, some Fates, which I'll never be able to use, Fragile Resin, which is incredibly useful. Hopefully, eventually, I'll be able to get this up to level 50, but only time will tell if I'm able to complete the Tree of Dreams. A little side note is, even though I was able to glitch myself into Vanarana, I still can't use gadgets in the world. So as you can see, I'm spamming Z over here. I just can't use gadgets outside the road boundaries. I was able to find a way to bypass the usage of the Vintage Lyre outside of the road boundaries. And the result is I'm able to access Vanarana. Even though I can't change it back, I can still technically use the Tree of Dreams and stuff. Now I'm just going to go through a few of the menu stuff. So as you can see in the pause menu, I don't have the mailbox. So anyone that was asking for Alloy from last year, just so you know, I don't have the mailbox. I don't have a way to bypass into the mailbox, and since Alloy has expired, I can no longer grab her. It is kind of sad. There's a lot of rewards that were locked behind the mailbox, but it is what it is. So the quest, I do have the main Archon quest. So this is the one where you need to swim to the island in Starfield Lake so that you get the element. Paimon has been there ever since I started this account. It has been more than 2 years now, and at this rate, Paimon will probably be there for the rest of her life. As for the road quest, as you can see, these are the Aranyaka road quests which I have yet to do. Technically possible to achieve, but extremely difficult to actually pull off. So it is again a matter of time if I'm ever going to get any of these done. And this one over here, the Sacred Sakura Cleansing Ritual, I was able to get out to the point where I get a Memento Lens, but I cannot actually use the Memento Lens outside of the road boundaries. So the quest is just kind of stuck there. And as you can see in the story quest over here, I do have access to the story quest tab, but none of them are unlocked. So as you can see for the one, it needs the completion of the Diluc story quest, but the Diluc story quest is locked behind Archon quest progression. So technically speaking, I do have access to all of these story quests, as you can see, all the way up to Nilo, but I just can't do any of it because you need Archon quest progression, which renders this tab pretty much useless. Same goes to the Hangout events over here. You do have access to the tab itself, but everything over here, you just need Archon quest progression, which, well, requires you to obtain an element. Not much I could do about it in this regard, but it is what it is. And just real quick, going back into the inventory, I do have 14k Primogems and 21 million Mora, mostly due to me using Primogems to refuel resin to do Mora ley lines. And the only reason I did it is just so that I could get up to AR55 in a timely manner to make this video. Now you may be thinking it may be a complete waste of Primogems to use it on resin refills, but since I don't have access to the wishing menu, there really isn't a way to use Primogems. I guess you could buy a way to level 50 Battle Pass, but since I have 40k Primogems, I'm pretty sure if I just play the game a little, I will have enough to do what I need to do. So that itself is no issue. And real quick, before I go into the Spiral Abyss, the Battle Pass is accessible for anyone that is over Adventure rank 20. Once you reach AR 20, you just simply get it. So as you can see, it's the same as any other Battle Pass. You are able to buy the Battle Pass weapon, which I've already shown in the weapons tab not too long ago. Technically speaking, I can buy this as well, but there's no real reason to buy it. It's like what? It's like another 16 bucks just to get the name card and some fragile resin. So it's not really particularly worth it. And the daily missions is all the same as well. There's nothing that is especially different. And that's it really for the Battle Pass. And just a quick note regarding co-op. So if I try to press F2, nothing happens because my co-op, even though I am Adventure rank 55, as you can see over here, I don't actually have co-op unlocked. This is due to me being in the middle of an Archon quest, and the only way to unlock co-op is to progress to the Archon quest, which will require me to get an element. However, with that being said, I do have access to the friends tab, so if I press the O key, as you can see, I do have access to the friends list, just there for the memes. And of course, if you guys want to add me, the UID is at the bottom right corner. And yeah, of course, there's no recent co-op players cause I don't even have co-op unlocked. And finally, we have the Spiral Abyss. So we're just going to go into the Spiral Abyss real quick. And as you can see, floors 1 to floor 8 is completed with 9 stars. Granted, we have only 3 characters and we do not have any healers. But hey, completing the normal Abyss, no problem. Level 90 characters, if they are well built enough, it is not that big of an issue. And the team comp usually consists of Xiangling, and then the second team will have Traveler and Collei. The main reason for this is for survivability. We don't have any healers, so to avoid taking damage, I have to use Elemental Burst to dodge attacks which are normally not dodgeable. The only ways to heal, maybe there might be an Abyss buff which allows you to heal. Or the Abyss cards, there's a few of them that gives you healing. There's also various weapons which allows healing as part of their weapon effect, but usually they are just way too weak, or in the Battle Pass Swords case, the weapon level is just way too low to justify losing the potential attack. In the future, if I'm able to get additional characters, then this will probably change. But until that happens, this is the team comp that I've got as of the release of this video. Now that's nice and all, I can finish floors 1 to floor 8. But what about the Moon Spiral Abyss? Unfortunately, I don't have much progress in here. So my Diva's Descent is completing floor 9 chamber 3, so floor 9 is completed with 9 stars as well. But I haven't gotten myself through floor 10, mainly due to the monsters becoming increasingly stronger. I believe if I go hard enough, I will be able to get my way all the way to the end of floor 11. But floor 12, I don't think I'll be able to complete it. The DPS check is just way too high to pass for just 3 characters. If I get the absolute best god tier artifacts, and if I get the Battle Pass 4-star weapons, then maybe, just maybe, I might have a chance to complete it. But as of this video, the current version of the Abyss is just way too difficult for 3 4-star characters to pass out. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the account overview for an account with a traveler that has never obtained an element. This has been an extremely long grind to complete the game without ever obtaining an element. There has been many obstacles and bugs that I had to execute in order to get myself to where I am today, but the journey is now over. Hopefully, maybe in the future, I will get it up to AR60, who knows, only time will tell. So once again, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking the video and dropping a sub. These videos take literal months if not years to make, so any form of support that you show on these videos is greatly appreciated. But otherwise, that's it from me, and see you all next time.